AI agent skills are not guarantees of reliable behavior. At most, they're polite suggestions. There's a lot of excitement right now around agent skills. I get it, it's a seductive story. You download a framework, drop a bunch of skills into a folder. Don't even worry too much about whether they're relevant. You don't have to program in when to use each skill. The agent just figures it out. Need more capability? Just add more skills. They're cheap, usually free. They're modular. They're everywhere. It's great. We'll use them to set guidelines, rules for how an agent should behave. But then people take that setup and point it at domains where the rules are not optional. For example, contract review, where every clause has to comply with specific regulations, and words mean very specific things. Or healthcare intake, where a hallucinated dosage may cause some big problems. Thinking goes like this. If compliance and regulation is important in your Agentic AI application, just add a follow compliance rules skill, right? Or a site regulation skill. If it misbehaves, just never violate policy skill. You package it nicely, test it out a few times, and now you've got reliable AI, right? Well, not quite, and I'll explain why. Hi, I'm John, CEO of SquarePack, professor at USF, 20 years of AI experience, and I'm excited about skills. But what are they exactly? At its core, a skill is just a set of written instructions, often in a file format called Markdown. That's basically just a text file that tells the model how to behave in a certain situation or how to perform a certain type of task. The agent framework keeps a collection of these instructions, and when a task comes in, it asks the model to decide which one to use. So if you ask an agent to fix this employment contract, it might look to see, are there skill files on how to understand a contract, on how to identify issues in employment law, or how to write contract language in the employment contract style, and so on. It then inserts the relevant skills into its prompt and then does generation like normal. That's it. Skill doesn't change how the model works internally. It doesn't retrain the model or affect its weights. It doesn't add a hard rule that the system physically cannot break. It simply gives the model more guidance about what it should try to do through an expansion of its prompt. The important word here is try. Now, skill for an agentic system is not by default a hard constraint. Under the hood, the model is still doing probabilistic next token prediction. The skill nudges the distribution, but it doesn't bind it. So maybe if you're asking the system to write marketing copy in a certain style, well, skills are fine because all you need is for the generated language to be nudged in a certain direction. Now, if you put behavioral guidelines into a skill, how often does the model fail to follow it? That depends on so many factors, it's almost useless to try to quantify here. It depends on the size of the prompt, the complexity of the task, complexity of the rules, and so on. It could be 99% accurate in some area, but in others it might fail to follow a rule more than 50% of the time. And in those cases, you do not want to rely on just skills alone for high stakes domains. So what actually works? If rule adherence matters, it cannot solely live in the prompt. It has to be enforced by the agent's architecture. Here's a simple way to think about it. 3 steps. Constrain before generation, validate after generation, and then provide a correction loop. So first step, constrain before generation. Don't let the model roam freely and hope it behaves. Narrow the action space. This is where skills make the most impact. Use structured input and output schemas, restrict available tools based on context, and break complex tasks into smaller, more bounded, more easy to check steps. The goal is to reduce how much freedom the model has to violate rules in the first place. Step 2, validate after generation. Every critical output of the model should be checked ideally programmatically. So you have deterministic rule checks for hard requirements, cross-check against authoritative data sources. For edge cases, you may be limited to using another LLM here to do the checking. Sometimes that's unavoidable, but be aware that this introduces another potential failure point. For example, if a mortgage disclosure is missing a legally required clause, the system should reject it automatically, not just log it, not hope someone catches it or hope that the skill will be obeyed, right? Just check for it and reject it. It gets fixed in step 3, the correction loop. When validation identifies that a rule was broken, the system shouldn't just say fail and give up. It should have a way to try to make corrections. One way to do this is to automatically generate with explicit feedback. But that can get expensive, especially if you have it regenerating the entire thing every time. So you want to try to have a correction loop that can make minimal edits in order to bring the text into compliance. Another strategy is to route to a different method if that editing continually fails. But that might not succeed every time either. So you might have an out where it escalates to a human if confidence is low or if there's no clear route to improve it. Now let's be clear, without this loop, you do not have governance and reliability in your agentic AI. You have optimistic prompting, which can be very expensive. So to summarize, if precise rule following matters, then you got to use a system that validates and corrects at the architectural level. My company's product SquarePact, for example, is one such product. We've built validation and enforcement for document intelligence into the agentic architecture itself. So if you want to use agentic AI for reviewing contracts, proposals, or any other kind of regulation-heavy document, consider giving it a try at squarepact.com. Finally, this video is one of many in a series. It's a free micro course on agentic AI designed to be accessible without an AI or heavy tech background. So subscribe to the channel, follow on LinkedIn for more, and give the video a like and comment to tell us what you want to see next.